Hey there, Lake Grove Church. Pastor Mark McElraith here, and it is Monday, August 3rd. And today's devotional reading is a story number 215 from our Storybook Bibles, also known as Ezekiel chapters 3 through 5. If you hadn't had a chance to read that text, I encourage you to pause the video here, go read that text, and then come back and join us. In our reading today, you'll see that God had Ezekiel do some really strange things to communicate God's prophecies. Rather than speaking aloud, Ezekiel silently played out the prophecies as physical object lessons for the people. Actions speak louder than words. Now, I don't know that the purpose of this text was to teach that actions speak louder than words. And certainly, this is an unusual mode of getting God's message across. As a matter of fact, God can use many ways to speak to us. But the message we find here in Ezekiel 3 through 5 is that God's people of Jerusalem will be scattered, will be destroyed, will be dispersed due to disobedience, as it says, because of false forms of worship. In this prophecy, some die in the flames of the burning city as it's attacked. Others, it says, will be executed, and still others will be carried into captivity. Horrible. What a horrible end to their story. And yet, that is not the end of the story. You'll see in this prophecy that God will not let that be the end. As a matter of fact, God will gather those random scattered people that are left over, what we call the remnants of this great nation. Those that are left scattered, those small pieces scattered, the shrapnel of this nation that's been blown apart. God will gather those pieces back together. And the hope that we have in this very difficult text is that their disobedience does not rule the day. God rules the day. We see that God always has the last word. Not us, not our mistakes, not our sin. God always has the last word. And we see that that last word in this text, that last word is restoration. God's last word here is restoration from these scattered remnants, this shrapnel. Well, today for us, life may seem incredibly difficult, and there is great loss all around us for all different sorts of reasons. Maybe great loss even because of your own choices, your own mistakes. But even so, God still has a plan ahead. Your story is not over. God can piece the shrapnel in our lives, the shrapnel brought from blown apart lives. God can piece those shrapnel pieces back together for us, restoring us, moving us into a new way of being, a new life with Him, a new life through Jesus Christ. So as we read this text, there is actually a challenge laid before us today. A challenge for you and a challenge for me. These next few days, in times when your life, when our lives seem blown apart, the challenge there is trust God. Trust God with the small pieces of your life, even if it's just shrapnel, because God is not done with your story. Even in the midst of failure, even in the midst of sin, even in the midst of terrible mistakes, trust God. Even when you can't see a way forward, trust God with the remnants, the shrapnel pieces of your life that you have left. Because God always has a way forward for you. Because God's last word is restoration. So let's trust God together.